Hello and welcome to another episode of Beacon of Creation, a weekly podcast on game design through the lens of Magic the Gathering. I'm Juliet.
And I'm Tim.
Uncle Gutenberg was a bookworm, and he lived on Charing Cross. The memory of his volumes brings a smile. He would read me lots of stories when he wasn't on the sauce. Now I'd like to share the wisdom of my favorite bibliophile.
You stumped me. I don't know what that's from.
The cover is not the book, so open it up and take a look, 'cause under the covers one discovers that the king may be a crook. It's chapter titles are like signs, and if you read between the lines, you'll find your first impression was mistook. For a cover
Oh.
is nice, but the cover is not the book. It's from Mary Poppins Returns.
Oh, Mary Poppins Returns.
Mary Poppins Returns is really good. It is better than the original Mary Poppins.
Oh my God. Wow. The sequel. Is
Yeah.
it like a movie or?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
What came out in theaters? Emily Blunt, Emily Mortimer,
Emily Blunt.
Ben Whishaw, who you might recognize as like Q from the Daniel Craig James Bond. He's that kind of. And Lin-Manuel Miranda in likely his best role ever.
Ooh. Oh, okay.
Our September design challenge was hit the books.
Hit the books. There's a book in those lyrics too. Okay, I get that.
Yeah, the song is called A Cover Is Not the Book.
Oh, okay. So we're going to be talking about cards that all use spellbook technology.
Mm-hmm. And to hopefully simplify it a little bit, we got a bonus point here, which is common knowledge. Either the design submission itself or the 3 spellbook cards are common.
Yeah, that's hopefully going to be crucial.
And then for a little flavor splash, it's School of Fish. It's a merfolk, or cares about merfolk, or gifts a fish.
Gifts of fish being the gift mechanic from Bloomborough, where, hey, you can get an extra effect on your spell, but you have to give someone else something. Alrighty, what's our first card?
Our first card is submitted by Yum36, who I believe is a
new submitter. Pow, 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 pow,
pew,
pow.
pew,
New
pew,
submitter. Pow, pow, pow,
pew.
pow, pow. They've also been jumping in on some You Make the Pack as well. So glad to see someone jumping in on all our stuff. Glad to have you.
Yeah. It's Battle with the God of the Sea. It's 2 green and a blue for a rare battle duel. It has 4, defense in the style of a battle. And as this duel enters and at the beginning of your upkeep, cast one of the spells in its spellbook that hasn't been cast yet. If there are no spells, instead exile it, then cast it transformed. And its spellbook is Kraken Hatchling, the classic, I believe, 0/4 vanilla for single blue. Swell of Growth, which is 1 and a green for an instant from Battle for Zendikar. Target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. You may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield.
Oh.
Or Serpentine Ambush, which is 1 and a blue from Crimson Vow for a common instant. Until end of turn, target creature becomes a blue serpent with base power and toughness 5/5.
All right, there's a back to this card, but maybe we should break down some of this before we get there. We're starting off with like not just a spell book, but a 2-sided card. It's a battle, which means it enters. So does your opponent, is this like a siege, like the March battles where someone wants to attack it? Am I protecting it maybe?
I believe by default, if it doesn't say, then it enters under, because it isn't a siege, it enters under your control. And effectively what this is a 3-turn timer that your opponent has that much time to remove its defense and remove it from the battlefield.
Okay, so it's almost like a Saga Planeswalker hybrid. If I can keep protecting this, I keep getting these spells, and then eventually I get to flip it. But if my opponent can just deal 4 damage to this battle, it's gone, and they cut off all that stuff. This is like 3 minor effects, maybe kind of like a Saga. Hey, I'm going to get like a little guy and a little pump, and then like maybe a 5/5 temporarily. And then if I can hold on to this and protect this battle long enough, I get to flip it into the other side.
It is neat that it's giving you the 0/4 which it can then pump.
Mm,
The other two
that's
spells
true.
it's casting are instants, but because they are being cast on your upkeep, or when
Yeah.
this enters at sorcery speed, I can make my O4 into a 5/5 serpent, with the serpentine ambush for a turn.
Mm,
But that's
mm,
pretty different from being able to cast serpentine ambush mid combat as
mm.
a surprise, a combat sort of trick.
Yeah, and I guess I could just use the hatchling to just block for the battle to buy time.
Mhm,
But I can maybe have a second creature, some little flyer, and I make that a 5/5, and I get 5 damage in.
mhm. Even if you don't ever attack with your O4 and the extra spells being cast go to waste, we've got our backside here, which is a planeswalker. It's a blue-green Kiora planeswalker. Kiora, Champion of the Sea. It enters with 4 loyalty counters. Its +2 is give target creature +2/+2 and trample until end of turn. When it deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Its
Mm.
+1 is untap target creature or land. Prevent all damage that we dealt to and dealt by that permanent until your next turn. And its -4 is create an 8/8 blue Kraken creature token.
Hmm. Okay. 4 loyalty, -4, so I can cash Kiora in right away to get a 8/8 after my couple turns of waiting with the battle. If I think I can get away with plussing 1 turn and then make it a Kraken, I feel like I'm really doing something powerful. My opponent has plenty of lead up time, I would say, because it's like a 3-turn wait before Kiora comes down, so opponent has plenty
Mhm.
of time to either try to stop the battle or just get ready to attack Kiora. So I think power level we're pretty good on the Kiora side. It's appealing. I want Kiora, but also it's not too overwhelming.
I wonder if there might be some kind of, like, pull from eternity sort of card, or like a some weird null rod
Is that
you
the
could play,
draw one?
where I think Pull from Eternity, at least the one I'm remembering, is the, like, suspend hate card where you can, like, take something from exile and
Oh,
put it into its
oh,
owner's
pull from
graveyard.
eternity. Okay.
I would love to see something that's like, all spell books are empty. You just
All right.
pay this, like, 1 and a white for this
Mm,
this enchantment that says
blank pages.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, all spell books are empty, and so you put your battle down and it, like, immediately flips because, as this enters and at the beginning of your upkeep, and then if there are no spells, instead exile it, then cast it transformed. So you could just have this enter. I think still you're paying 2 green and a blue, and if you wanna pay 2 green and a blue and have this, like, other card combo to get an 8/8
Hmm.
out of it,
Yeah.
that's
Oh, you're trying to cheat out Kiora. Oh, I
yeah.
see. You're not trying to beat the spellbook decks. Yeah. Okay. Funny.
And, like, it could do both, but yeah, I think
All right.
seeing this particular mechanic, I then see
Yeah.
how could we break this?
Great.
Mhm. A very fun first submission.
Yeah, super fun card. It's got a lot going on, maybe even more so than some of our other spellbook cards, but it's certainly very flavor blasted. A lot of Kiora related stuff. I think that we got some Kiora flavor text on Swell of Growth, even. So yeah, great for a
Yeah,
submission. Love it.
and his all of the, all the spellbook cards are common. This is
Oh yeah.
definitely a
Oh,
rare, a
it's maybe more of a mythic, but yeah.
and I think Kiora counts as a merfolk.
Hmm. Hmm.
Speaking of merfolk, though.
Yeah. Our next card is from Kenna Chaos. It's called Azcanta Scout. 3 and a green for a 3/4 creature merfolk warrior at common. 4 mana 3/4. It has a mechanic called Spellbook, up to 3 merfolk cards. During deck construction, you may note, reveal, and exile up to 3 merfolk cards from your draft pool with a spellbook counter on them. When this creature enters, you may place a card you've exiled with a spellbook counter on it into your hand. So we got an attempt at like what's a non-digital spell book,
Mhm,
but this still feels pretty close to the arena spell books.
yeah. Instead of drafting from a spell book, which is,
Yeah,
like a 15 card spell book or something like that, which some of the arena cards do, you
yeah.
are drafting into your spell book.
There you go.
And as a kind of conspiracy-esque mechanic, this is kind of fun. I really like the fact that this is given to us as a common, but likely you're hoping to have a rare merfolk that you're able to put
Mm.
into a spell book and then tutor up if you have 2 as Kanta scouts or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely want to have my like 7 mana Tishana or something, some just huge merfolk that I don't want in my opening hand, but I can put in my spell book so that I can grab it with this scout.
Mhm. It is
Um,
kind of neat that you could conceive of, "Oh, I have a Skanta scout, so I have some merfolk cards with, spellbook counters on them." If we're just, like, also thinking Ixalan,
hmm.
maybe you also have a pirate card that has, like, a pirate. It says
Yeah,
spellbook up to 3 pirate cards,
yeah,
and so
yeah.
those cards would be exiled from your draft pool with spellbook counters on them.
Oh, yeah.
So then you could use if you had both those cards in your starting library, you could play as Kenta Scout and then pull one of the pirates, since it is a card you've exiled
Mm.
with a spellbook counter on it, into your hand.
Yeah, I was starting to think about like if this is a common and I have 6 cards, all of which have spellbook on them,
Mhm,
I'm gonna have this kind of funny face-up wish board,
mhm,
which I'm trying to decide how much how much I like that. Right?
mhm,
It's kind of a disclosure thing. I have to show my opponent here my 12 spellbook cards. At,
mhm,
at some point, I'm gonna tutor. I'm gonna tutor like the best one, then the second best one. Like maybe even like a when we're thinking about learn. If you have lots of lesson learn, Strixhaven style in an environment, the more of that's face up. Now that's extra tricky because my opponent maybe needs to know that there are 2 removal spells in there. Needs to know that there's like a 6 mana creature in there. I think as a single card, I really really like this, and I think the suit looks super fun. Once we have a draft pool that has a lot of these, I don't know. Maybe it's
mhm.
not bad.
I think I would also be curious to see, if I was in, like, play design or vision design,
Yeah.
and presented this mechanic, I would think about whether we would want to maybe pivot it as a commander limited
Hmm.
mechanic
Okay.
in something in that space where, like, okay, here we have a cycle of, like, commanders that play into some of the
Hmm.
other themes of our, like, hey, we're doing.
So you're thinking because this is like a commander, then I don't have the problem of having 5 cards in my deck, all of which spellbook 3 cards. Like, but if it's
Yeah.
just a
Yeah.
commander, it's almost like a background or something.
Mhm,
But Kenna's version of spellbook here, like you get to pick which card out of your spellbook that you get, which is appropriate for
mhm,
spellbooks. I think you maybe don't need to do like up to 3 Merfolk cards on a common. You could like this card could be still fully playable, I think, if it was, you just pick 1 Merfolk card that the scout has.
mhm.
Then I might have more room to have like 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 of these cards in my deck without having
Right.
like a humongous tutor board. Like I still only have like 4 cards that I'm choosing from.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense, and that way, having my second as Kanta Scout could make a difference
Hmm,
in that
hmm.
way. Yeah,
Yeah. Very cool card though. Like the technology. Love the attempt at trying to make like a paper version of the arena mechanic.
mhm, and totally hits the bonus points
Oh yeah, it's a common and yeah, definitely a merfolk.
and cares about merfolk too even.
But there you go.
Our next submission is from Inti. It's Spellbook Weird. For X blue and a red, it's a creature weird at rare
Mm.
with star star for power toughness. So let's see the text. As this creature enters, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal 3 non-land cards with mana value X or less. Exile those cards, then shuffle your library. Then it has
Mm.
tap. You may cast a spell from among cards exiled with this creature. Activate only once. So kind of like an exhaust sort of
Mm.
thing that you can cast one of those spells. And then this creature's power and toughness are each equal to the total mana value of cards exiled with it. So hypothetically,
Mm.
you have a kind of big thing depending on what cards you're exiling. You can tap to cast one of those, which is going to shrink this creature.
Mm. Okay. Yeah. So it's X blue red. So it's uh, I guess one of the things I'm thinking about is like why would I pay a lot for X? I always keep going until I find 3 cards. I'm not quite sure. I'm still grokking
Mhm,
this card a little bit.
mhm,
I'm gonna flip until I kind of cascade find 3 cards, and so I don't have to pay a lot of X in order to see enough cards. I'm always going to get 3 cards, but it's how high a mana value I get. So if
right.
I don't know I have a couple 1 and 2 drops, I could just do X's, 1 or 2, get 3 cards out. Oh, but I guess that's maybe not as useful as it could be because I only get to cast one of those 3 cards. And maybe I wanted to gamble and say, "Hey, I want any size sorcery because I know I have some hammers in my deck." And then I'll exile a 3, a 4, and a 5, and my creature will be a 12/12.
Mhm.
So that's why I want to have a higher X and also want to put expensive cards in my deck.
Or if you have a lot of expensive cards, but you do at least have some, like, 1 drops, or
Yeah.
maybe all of your 1 drops are cantrips, or maybe all of your 1 drops are creatures, but I'm just gonna assume none of your 1 drops are creatures. You
Hmm.
pay 1 blue and red, and this becomes a 3/3, and you pull
Yeah.
3, like, cantrips from your deck, and then you can tap this to turn it into a 2/2 and cast one
Okay.
of those, a peak or a preordain or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. Yeah. If I pay just like, yeah, 1 into X, I get 3 of those. Maybe I only have 2 of them left, but, yeah, then my weird is sort of like kind of like a cantripy creature, like a little guy that I draw a card off of, like you said, peak or opt or whatever.
Mhm,
And then if I'm in the like three for X and I don't have ones and twos in my deck, now I can get like a 9/9 for 5 mana, which is kind of cool. But I had to do some pretty serious deck building to make that happen. And I can tap. You may cast a spell from among the cards exiled. I think I'm still paying for the spell. Does that seem right?
mhm.
All right. So
Yeah.
if I want a big spell, I gotta tap and pay 5 mana to cast my 5 mana spell. Yeah. Cool.
I think I've figured out a particular thing you might wanna do with this card, which is use it as a way to search up any, like, X cost
Yeah.
spells you have.
Yeah.
So if you
Yeah.
have, like, X and a red burn spells
Hmm.
in your deck, those might just be 1 mana value spells, and so that's not gonna make the weird that big,
Yeah.
but having a creature that can fetch one of those up and then either be a 3/3
Hmm.
or you can tap and then, like, "Oh, suddenly I've got this blaze that I can target your face or your creature." That's
Yeah.
that's utility that I could definitely imagine in, like, limited or casual sort of play.
Yeah, I believe that for sure. Even if it's like a X double blue or something like that, I still only have to put 2 into X for the spell to find that. I guess when we're dealing with kind of cascadey discovery effects, we have to think like, well, what if I'm dealing with like 0 mana
Mhm.
living end or whatever?
Yeah, yeah.
I guess I can't have all zeros because then this weird immediately dies.
Mhm.
So protects us against that case. So I need a mixture of zeros and ones or something.
Right.
I'm
Do
trying to think of like what's the modern
you don't wanna
combo.
accidentally draw the 1. It's
Yeah.
exactly. Because getting, like, ancestral visions as a free sort of thing, or
Hmm.
I don't know, I mean, Lotus Bloom as a as I think that might be where
Oh, because non-land cards. Yeah, it's not instant sorcery. It's non-land cards. Yeah.
yeah, and so that's part of why you'd be thinking about, like, your other creatures and things. If you're casting this for with X equals 2, you can hit other spellbook weirds if we're in, like, 60
Hmm.
card sort of things
That's
rather than limited
interesting.
or
Yeah. Yeah.
singleton. And so I think you would want, at least the way I would envision this is you really would want to almost exclusively cast this for X equals 1
Hmm.
in order to be able to have it stay on the battlefield and
Yeah.
use some of that utility. And maybe, thinking it's a red blue weird, so thinking about is it things? So, any of your overload spells, but also your like replicate
Hmm. Yeah.
spells.
Yeah. Spells where you could pay extra costs. Yeah.
You could pull the Giga
Yeah.
Drowse or Shattering Spree or something like that, and then yeah, it's a 1 mana spell, but I can spend 6 mana on it
Yeah,
and
yeah,
do
yeah.
something.
Kind of like your Expel example. This is a
Yeah.
very cool card, though, and another attempt at like doing paper spell books, which is great.
Yeah.
Thanks for the card. Next up, we've got Kern Submission. I know where this is going. The card is called Forgetful Fish, and it says at the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player may conjure a card named Predict into their hand. If they do, they conjure 2 random cards from Forgetful Fish's spellbook into their library, third and fourth from the top in any order. We'll get to the cards in the spellbook in a second, but just sort of reviewing what this card is doing. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, so you and your opponent, you can get the card Predict, and I think that might be the most important part to grab here. But so Predict, just another ooh, from Odyssey.
Odyssey, yep. Odyssey uncommon. Predict is a 1 in a blue instant with choose a card name, then target player mills a card. If a card with the chosen name was milled this way, you draw 2 cards.
Oh my god!
Otherwise, you draw a card.
All right. Yep. So
This used to be a big player in Legacy, but
yeah.
or I guess a medium player in Legacy a really long time ago.
Oh, okay. Yeah, choose a card. Yeah, I think understanding predict is going to be important to understanding the rest of the cards. So I'm actually going to re-grok predict a little bit. So
Mhm,
choose a card name, then target player builds a card. And if you know what you've milled, what was going to be milled, you draw 2 cards, otherwise you draw 1 card. So you always draw a card, you have a chance of drawing 2 cards if you're thinking hard.
mhm.
That is relevant with even what we've seen with this fish card so far, because both players are going to be casting these predicts. Both players are going to be conjuring cards from the spellbook into their library, third and fourth from the top in any order. So I kind of know that what's in my opponent's library when I'm targeting them, when I'm trying to get my bonus predict card. But I maybe don't know for sure because they are in a random order. And they're 2 of the 3 random cards.
Mhm.
Whether you've played the format or not, you may have started to figure out what this card is, which is that it's a reference to the Dan Dan shared deck experience. And in fact, Dan Dan is one of the 3 cards in the spellbook. This is kind of a famous deck experiment that a lot of people have done riffs on, where players have like shared decks. They have Dan Dans, which are these very good cards against shared decks, and then a whole bunch of like countery sort of manipulation-y sort of things to try to outsmart your opponent when both of you have a lot of the same cards and both of you are trying to stop each other from playing those cards.
Yeah. 8 memory lapses and 10 dandans in the original 80 card deck. And I
Hmm.
believe literally this week, yeah, 2 days ago,
Yeah.
Wizards announced a secret layer version of the Forgetful Fish
Yeah.
Dandan deck as a product.
Well, that's a cool idea. So we got Dan, which is just like a threat. The other 2 cards in the spellbook are Memory Lapse, which is a counter that puts things back on the top of the library, and then Mystic Sanctuary, which is the Eldraine land that like lets you recur a spell on top of your library. So this Forgetful Fish card is giving everybody a bunch of predicts. Predicts really cares about what's on the top of libraries, as do 2 of the 3 cards in the spellbook. So this is some hard thinking magic. This is, you're spending, 2 minutes per turn trying to keep track of the state of the game. And I think it's a good tribute to the Dan Dan deck. This card uh, maybe doesn't totally appeal to me personally, but I appreciate the reference, and I think it's a solid gold contribution to that legacy.
It's fun. This even is riffing off of the like merfolk lady on the art of
Mm,
the original Predict card.
yeah. Hmm.
So this is like a creature version of her for 1 in blue. Yeah, conjuring cards like into library, not at the top, but near the top is like an interesting sort of thing. One of the things that I riffed on but decided to not submit for this was gonna be like uh, putting forced fruition, like, onto the battlefield, but then, like, putting a whole bunch of cards from a spell book just on top of every player's library. So they're, like, drawing 7 cards each turn, the forced fruition effect. But like 6 out of those cards are gonna be some random other thing, and like 1 out of those cards is actually gonna be from your deck.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
I kind of like this. You hear you might have a fish or a frigate or a mystic sanctuary just a little bit deep, and you
Yeah.
have a good chance of hitting on a predict, but not 100% chance. And I think that's a
Yeah.
silly little thing, even if it might get repetitive in actual play. It's a fun card idea.
Is this Juliet magic? Is casting memory lapses and and playing Mystic Sanctuaries? Is I don't usually think of you as like a blue lover.
I'm I mean, like, listen, I do like a fish deck,
Okay.
but in the sense of, like, I think Merfolk is an interesting thing historically,
Okay.
and especially, like, with the addition of Mirror I think Mirror Regery is one of the most interesting cards, like, ever printed when it comes
Mm.
to actual play. Like, here's this, like, 3 mana Merfolk lord, but you can tap and untap things, and your choices on
Mm.
tapping and untapping matter. But
Yeah.
I am not, like, by default, a counter all your stuff blue sort of player. I I'm not a red blue delver sort of player. I don't really do that much with like snapcaster mages and
Yeah.
that sort
Yeah.
of thing.
Yeah.
Speaking of Delver
Yeah.
of Secrets,
Oh,
our
okay.
next submission is from Auxiliary Otter. It's Delve into Research. It's a
Hmm.
single blue for an uncommon sorcery with draft a card from Researcher's spellbook. Shuffle this card into its owner's library. Scry 2. Flavor text. The calculations are sound at last. All that remains is to test the theory upon living subjects. Laboratory notes,
Hmm.
first entry. And of course, we got some laboratory notes. We got some delving. Our
Hmm.
spellbook here is Delver of Secrets, which is also Insectile Aberration, Aberrant Researcher, which is also Perfected Form, and Docent of Perfection, which is also, of course, Final Iteration. The Delver of Secrets, like, vertical cycle, like, technically it's a mega cycle because it happens across each of the different
Yeah. Yeah.
Innistrad, like, returns and blocks and things.
The kind of gist of all three of these cards. So Delver is the card where you're going to flip cards or potentially reveal cards off the top of your library, and if you manage to reveal an instant or sorcery, you get a cheap flyer. Otherwise, it just stays a 1/1. Um, the Aberrant Researcher, you're going to mill a card every turn. If it's an instant or sorcery, kind of like the first card, you're going to flip into a big flyer. And then Docent of Perfection, when you cast instants or sorceries, you make a bunch of more little human wizards that are going to turn into little monsters that have flying. I guess I'm going to draft one of those three cards, so I pick whichever one fits in my curve or something. What are you thinking?
Yeah. So, Delver, of course, is the one that becomes a 3/3. I'm trying to okay, Aberrant is the 3 and a blue, 3/2 flying that flips, and
Hmm.
that's the milling flip if you mill one, yeah.
Yeah.
And then Docent is the one that makes tokens? Yeah, Docent of Perfection is 3 blue and a blue for a 5/4 flying. When you cast an instant or sorcery, you create a 1/1, blue wizard human,
Hmm.
and then if you have 3 of those, you transform, and it gives all of your wizards +2/+1 in flying.
Yeah.
I
Yeah. So I think I probably either get the Delver if I'm on turn two, but otherwise,
Mhm.
I probably skip the Aberrant Researcher and go straight to the Docent.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't think I'm frequently wanting a, like, 3/2 flyer for 4
Yeah.
over a 5/4 flyer for 5 that also creates tokens.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But it is fun to get all of the, like, different forms of because like, this is those 3 cards and their backsides, so those kind of 6-ish cards are meant to tell kind of a contiguous story
Yeah.
together,
Yeah.
and so this is setting up those laboratory notes from before Delver of Secrets.
Hmm. I like this. Yeah. I have to test the theory on living subjects. Yeah. First entry in the journal.
Mhm.
Um, and then the card itself. So I'm going to draft one of those three cards. Maybe I take the 1 mana guy early. Maybe I take the 5 mana guy late. But then the mechanics of the other mechanics on this card shuffle this card, the Delve into Research, back into its owner's library, then scry two. So I guess part of the idea of that extra text here is that I'm going to make sure that I keep enough instants and sorceries in my deck and that I have some control over the top of my deck because that's what the first two researchers like to do.
Mhm. And if you think about for Delver or Aberrant Researcher, which both, like, care about the top of your library,
Yeah, yeah.
this is a instant or sorcery version of those creatures, so you don't even have to have those
Mm,
creatures in your deck, and then the Scry 2, like, you're almost certainly going to be able to flip either of those,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and, like, that's kind of neat, like, in its own way. I
Yeah,
probably happily play 4 of these in a deck over playing the first of any of
yeah.
the actual creatures once this card exists.
Yeah, it's because it's 1 mana draw a card scry 2, but it just happens to be that the only cards you can draw are these insect scientists.
Mhm. And in your prowess deck, you can fill your deck with these sorceries that secretly turn into creatures.
Yeah. I guess in terms of like direct references, kind of like our last Dan card, this one's a little more in my wheelhouse. Like I would be happy casting this card and playing it.
Mhm.
I have to think a little hard, but not too hard in order to make it work, which is the zone I want to exist in Magic.
It helps that Delver is so widely known, and the other cards are somewhat easy to remember
Yeah.
once you remember Delver.
If we put this kind of card on Arena on digital, that's like really nice for the downside of these cards design wise, which is that they're double face cards. They're three different double face cards, but at least I can read them a little more easily. I can track them a little better than on paper on the other side of the table, where I have to say, "Hey, can you de-sleeve that? I need to know exactly what it flips into." Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Cool card, and I don't know where this art came from too, but it also fits perfectly. All right, next up is Wobbles.
Honk honk.
Femeref Folktales, 2 and a black for an enchantment at rare. When Femeref Folktales enters the battlefield, it becomes night. Conjure a spirit of night on the bottom of your library. When it becomes night, conjure a card from Femeref Folktales spellbook onto the battlefield. Black, black, sacrifice Femeref Folktales, return 3 target Night Stalker cards from the graveyard to the battlefield. We got another kind of, we've got like a series of tribute cards here of the tributes to old classic cards. And
Okay, I'm good.
Wobbles is going back to Mirage, I think.
Yeah, yeah, I'm gonna try to get to the Night Stalkers real efficiently. All 3 of these cards, Breath Stealer, Feral Shadow, and Urborg Panther are Night Stalkers. They just
Yeah, creature type. Yeah.
Urborg Panther's a Night Stalker cat. They're all also 2 and a black. Breath Stealer is 2 and a black for a 2/2 with kind of a flowstone. You pay black, it gets +1/-1.
Hmm.
Feral Shadow is 2 and a black for a Night Stalker 2/1 with flying.
Hmm.
It's a simple one. Urborg Panther's a little more funny. It's 2 and a black for a 2/2. You can pay black, sacrifice this, destroy target creature blocking it. But
Hmm.
Urborg Panther also has sacrifice a creature named Feral Shadow, a creature named Breath Stealer, and this creature. Search your library for a card named Spirit of the Night. Put that card onto the battlefield, then shuffle.
Hmm.
And Spirit of the Night is 6 black, black, black. It's a legendary creature, demon spirit. So it's a 6/5 for 9 mana with flying, trample, haste, protection from black. Spirit of the Night has first strike as long as it's attacking.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, Spirit of Night being on the bottom of the library is maybe the perfect
Mhm,
place in your library for a Spirit of the Night because you don't really want to draw it typically. And that's what this Folktales does. So it says, like, hey, when it enters, it becomes night, conjure a Spirit of Night on the bottom of your library. And then when it becomes night, so right away, you get one of the 3 creatures. And then,
mhm,
it's day night kind of new Innistrad style. So in a couple turns, I'll get a second one. And a couple more turns, I'll get the third one. And then I'm ready to summon my Spirit of the Night. So that's the kind of
mhm.
normal course of this card. But it also has a backup plan where you could play black, black, and sacrifice it to return 3 target Night Stalker cards from the graveyard to the battlefield. So the kind of nice thing about that is I get to play with these Night Stalkers in the meantime. Like
Mhm, mhm.
if I had to just like summon them very slowly, I can't attack with any of them. I can't block with any of them. I have to just keep them safe. Wobble says, no, I want you to get in combat, get them all killed, and then once you have all 3 of them, bring them all back, and then bring out your Spirit of the Night.
Yeah. 2 and a black for a rare enchantment that can summon any one of these 3 creatures and might eventually get you a second, depending on
Yeah.
how the game goes,
Yeah.
is totally fair because these are kind of underpowered
Yeah.
creatures at
Mhm,
this point,
mhm. Yep.
and a neat way to let you play with the old cards and not just have, "Well, here's a callback card, but you're never gonna
Yeah.
touch the old one." It's like, "Yep,
Okay.
this lets you play with those cards in a way that maybe is more playable in a modern Magic sort of speed of play."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's another one that kinda like the spellbook weird hits me as, like, a little much to grok at first, but now
Mhm,
that I understand it, I'm in favor of it. I really like the card. The, like, day-night thing is, like, insanely drenched in flavor,
mhm, mhm.
but does make me think a lot harder when I'm trying to grok the card.
Right.
Um, the old art for Breath Stealer is just one of the coolest card arts to me. Like, whenever I run into that looking at Mirage, Breath Stealer is like this kind of translucent, cool looking assassin creature in like a tomb. So
Mhm.
I think I like this card more just because I love Breath Stealer's art so much.
Honestly, I think this whole set of 4 cards have pretty cool art.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah,
there's something painterly
yeah.
about this old style. Yeah. We are listener, when you're hearing this, we are still early enough in Lorwyn stuff that Julia
Mm.
is holding out hope that there might be a fun, n slightly cleaner version of Day Night in,
Mm.
Lorwyn Eclipsed. Probably not, but there's a
Mhm.
chance.
How's the lore when Eclipse stuff hitting you so far? Is it meeting your expectations?
I am remaining as unspoiled as I possibly
Oh.
can be,
Oh, okay.
in part 'cause my goal was if it hits October and we haven't gotten any Lore and Eclipse spoilers, I was like, "Let's do an episode about, like, what we might expect." I was like, "Okay,
Mm,
we just have to hit October," and it's, like, 3 days before October, they start
mm.
putting the things everywhere. So I think it'll still be an interesting discussion. I I have hope, you know but that's where I'm at right now is avoiding those things.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, this is cool. This is another great, like, kind of throwback to some old flavor. You need, like, actually assembling Spirit of Night is kind of tough. So this is kind of like your all-in-one relive the past, get to summon Spirit of the Night, which is a fun reference.
I think I like this more than I would like a new meld card.
Hmm.
Our next submission is from Pat.
Hmm.
It's Wizard's Index. It's a white and a blue for an uncommon artifact. It
Hmm.
has spellbook. Tap this artifact. Reveal a card you own from outside the game named Spellbook Vendor, Wizard Spellbook, or Spellbook. Put it
Okay.
into your hand. And then it has pay 3 mana, tap, draw a card.
Hmm. 2 mana artifact, 3 tap, draw a card as a baseline. Like, that's already a pretty solid card. And
Mhm.
then if I specifically want one of these 3 cards, Spellbook Vendor, Wizard Spellbook, or Spellbook, I can tap, not pay any mana, just tap to draw those cards. So we gotta figure out how good those cards are.
Yeah, Spellbook, classic old weird core set card, 0 mana artifact, you have no maximum hand size. These
Hmm.
days, I think they just put that on a land. Spellbook Vendor is 1 and a white for a 2/2 rare from Wilds of
Hmm.
Eldraine
This is
as
a good one. Yeah.
vigilance, and beginning of combat on your turn, you pay 1 and create a sorcerer roll attached to a creature you control.
Yeah. It's in the kind of like 2 mana white creature that gives out +1/+1 to a creature every turn.
Mhm. And especially if you're in roll space, it's a great way to replace, like, cursed rolls and things like
Oh
that
yeah.
on
Yep. Yep.
things. And then Wizard Spellbook is 5 blue and a blue for a rare from, Adventures in the Forgotten Realms. It's an artifact, and you tap and exile an instant or sorcery from your graveyard and roll a d20, and you can cast cards. We don't need to get into all of the d20
Yeah.
results.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's a 7 mana.
Lets you
Uh
flashback spells, but maybe
mhm,
more. I think crucially, also in the screenshot that Pat gave us at the top of the screenshot, it's clearly like a Scryfall search, and it says 3 cards where name includes spellbook. So
Uh-huh,
it's
there are exactly 3 of
yeah.
them. It's
I mean, being able to like a 2 mana artifact that lets me tap and draw a pretty good 2/2 every turn, I'm in. And
yeah,
limited. This rules.
yeah. I wonder if you assume that you could only get these once each,
Hmm. Let's reveal a card out that you own from outside the game. So if it's in your sideboard, I
you
have to
could have
put 4
4.
copies of it in there, and then I run out
Yeah.
after 4.
I could see a world where I actually run some number of spell books,
Hmm.
mostly as, like, tap this, draw a 0 mana artifact from
Yeah.
outside the game, like, either for, like, storm count stuff, you're doing a slick shot, spell shot sort of,
Hmm.
like,
Hmm.
prowess sorta thing, or you need to hit metalcraft or etcetera, like, an 8th card we've definitely seen in the form of, like, different companions where you're not necessarily wanting to cast the Gigantha sort of thing, you just want the extra card in your hand so that you can discard it or pitch it to something. I could see a world
Hmm.
where 0 mana artifact or even 7 mana blue spell to put into, like, a shoal of some sort, or a march of whatever the blue march is.
Hmm. Yeah, I think the 0 mana artifact thing sort of makes sense as like this index is an artifact. I just want more artifacts. I just want to trigger Metalcraft. I want to trigger, the Karn structs that are as big as the number of artifacts. Yeah.
Okay,
Uh,
white and a blue for an artifact that you can tap, once per turn cycle, of course, to get a blue card just to pitch to Force of Negation or
okay.
to pitch to Force of
Hmm.
Will, and just like,
Hmm.
yeah, every turn I'm getting another blue card just to just for pitching.
Yeah.
Pitch to Commandeer.
Yeah. Yeah. Just pieces of cardboard.
Mhm.
Funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fun card. And Pat
Mhm.
always gives us some chuckles along with the submission too. So that's good.
Mhm.
All right, next up from VT Base Bat, we've got Doubling Seed. This is 3 mana for an artifact. Looks like a common. Tap to add colorless. Tap to add green. Spend this mana only to cast conjured cards. Drafted cards are conjured. And then 1 and a green. Tap, exile this artifact. Draft a card from Doubling Seed's spellbook. So 3 mana artifact. I can get colorless no matter what. I can get green for conjured cards. So if I'm making the full on spellbook deck, and then I can pay 2 mana, tap and sack this to get one of the cool cards from the spellbook here. So the 3 cards that are in the spellbook, one of them is a pretty famous one, Doubling Season, which is that 5 mana enchantment that doubles the number of tokens you make and the number of counters you put on things. Another one is Exponential Growth. This is a card from Strixhaven. It's XX green green, double target creature's power X times till end of turn. And then Mossborn Hydra is a popular one now. I see this on Arena all the time. This is 2 and a green for a Hydra, trample, enters with 1 counter. Whenever you landfall, double the counters on it. So typically you play this and immediately play land, you got a 2/2, and then becomes a 4/4, 8/8, and so on.
Yeah. Yeah. This is gonna be super appealing to people who really like this sort of thing.
Yeah.
I think when I was younger, I liked doubling season sort of stuff, and then at
Mm.
some point I was like, "I don't wanna do counter upkeep. I don't
Yeah.
wanna have to keep track of counters." I became like, "Hey, I would rather have token auras than
Yeah.
than counters because I don't wanna ever have to deal with, like, doubling math." But I know it's very popular,
Yeah.
so I'm not dissuading other people. This is strictly my
Yeah. Yeah.
personal taste.
I think when I read this card, I assume kind of arena mode. And then that
Mhm.
also conjures into my mind sort of a sense memory of there's a sound effect whenever a counter gets placed on a creature.
Mm.
And
Mm.
if counters get placed on multiple creatures at once, it plays that sound like 4 times at the same time, so it's just like a beefier version of that sound, and that's the
Right.
sound effect that is the representative of this card, where it's just bruh as 8 creatures all get counters or, exponential things happen.
Doubling Seed has the flavor text "Many to same Morrow," which, of course, a reference to the flavor text of the card Morrow, which is "No two seem the same Morrow."
It's
And
kind of a don't dead open inside, like, what am I reading?
I believe Doubling Season was, like,
Yeah.
that emerged straight from Mark Rosewater's head, like, Athena from Zeus.
Fair enough.
I think that's the way that works.
Mana Rock, I definitely need Mana Rock for my Brawl deck where I wanna be doubling things all the time. I think until I crack this for one of the spellbook cards, I'm kinda paying a lot for what I'm getting, but
Mhm.
maybe we're saying, "Hey, this is a common, we're trying to get it at that common level," so that's why we're a little conservative on what we get until we actually sack. Because paying 3 mana, then 2 mana, then 5 mana to get doubling season, I better be going off really hard after that. Like, I better be going nuclear once I get that doubling season in play. Um,
Do you think you can pay 3 mana, then 2 mana, then 5 mana to get a Doubling Season at common? Do you think
hmm, that's a good
like,
point.
that is hoops and installment? Yeah.
Yeah, 10 mana doubling season is when it lets you make it a common. That is funny thinking.
Or, 3 mana, then 2 mana, then 3 mana Mossborn Hydra at common?
Yeah, we are doing some kind of funny accounting for what gets to be a coven. If we just, I guess it's sort of also like, even if I draft like 4 of these, I don't necessarily want to play 4 of these because they're mana rocks and it takes a long time for them to do anything. So they're protected from being too good a common by not being that great in multiples in a
Sure.
draft or something.
I think that is interesting calculus to make
Yeah,
as both, like, limited players, but also as game designers, and
yeah.
I that's part of why I was like, "Listen, you don't have to have a common card that summons commons. Have either a common card that doesn't or
Hmm.
a rare or something that summons commons." Because I think there'd be interesting play there, and I think this is an example as we try to figure out, well, you could probably get exponential growth at this rate,
Yeah,
but
we're doing some sort of like money laundering version of rarity where it's like, okay, can I make Chandra at common if she costs 9 mana?
mhm.
I don't know. Maybe not.
How much do you need to pay for omniscience
Yeah,
to be able to cast it at common? What about,
22 mana omniscience. Yeah,
Emrakul the Aeon's Torn?
yeah, yeah,
If if you have 39 lands in your deck
yeah.
and 1 Emrakul, can you get it at common?
All right, if we have
Yeah.
Flip a Johnny at 6 mana, can I make it a common?
I I maybe another episode, we can just take a few cards and be like, "Okay, here's this common. What cost could we pay for it? Like, how cheap could it be if it was rare? And here's
Yeah,
this rare. How
yeah,
expensive
yeah.
would it need to be at common?" Yeah,
Yeah, because
that's a
I feel
fun way
like
to
the
go.
other direction is like apparently very legal maneuver that happens all the time in Magic Design, where you just up rarity it and just knock a mana off of it.
Mhm.
But we don't go in the other direction very often. Maybe that's unfair for the people, for the common folk. We gotta open up that avenue. Yeah, cool card. It has some appeal to me. I think this is. I want to play this in digital, maybe like you're saying, because I don't want to totally track doubling season counters and stuff like that. But I have enjoyed casting exponential growth, and the other 2 cards are certainly very popular cards. So it was a good pick.
Absolutely, and a fun kind of way to, weave all those flavors together. Our next submission is from Juliet. It's Uncanny Delta.
Hmm.
It's a triple two-brid cost, so 2 or red, 2
Hmm.
or white, 2 or black.
Yeah, 3 mana or 6 mana or some mixture. Yeah.
Yeah. For an uncommon sorcery with choose a card in Uncanny Delta's spellbook, conjure that card once onto the battlefield and once into your hand.
Hmm.
And then its spellbook are Razorfin Hunter, which is blue and red for a creature merfolk goblin common. It's a 1/1 that pings You
Hmm.
can tap to deal 1 damage to target creature or player. An effect that used to be called a Tim.
Yeah.
Uh,
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
we've got Stony Brook Schoolmaster. It's 2 and a white for a 1/2 common creature merfolk wizard. When it becomes tapped, you put a 1/1 blue merfolk wizard creature token on the battlefield.
Hmm.
And Mire Triton, it's 1 and a black for a common 2/1 creature zombie merfolk as death touch, and when it enters, you mill 2 cards and you gain 2 life.
Yeah, I played a lot of Mire Triton, so I'm pretty familiar with that one. Just a little death touch creature that gives you some mills, some life, lets you set up to
Mhm.
do some graveyardy stuff. The Schoolmaster is probably more in your wheelhouse in terms of
Uh,
playing.
Morning Tide merfolk. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I don't have quite as much experience with that one, but it's when it becomes tapped, I get a 1/1, so I want to have a deck that can tap this with like crewing or whatever else to get it tapped because it's a little tough to attack with it. And then Razorfin Hunter, yeah, just tap to deal 1 damage to any target is like a proven like a proven draft ability that is just useful for a variety of stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think the technology here, all those cards are pretty cool, and having the choice between one or the other might be an interesting thing in the game to game. But the really cool thing about this is that I get two of them. One of them I put straight on the battlefield, and then the other one I have to put in my hand. And then, kind of notably, this also interacts with the two Brid casting cost a lot because I can play this in a deck that's only got black mana, it doesn't have red and white mana, but then I don't really want to take the red or the white merfolk because I can't cast the second copy. And so I want to be playing a mixture of these colors. I need to be playing a fourth color if I want to be casting those Razorfin Hunters. So that's kind of the interesting interaction between the mana cost here and then the flexibility it gives you.
Yeah. And so if I want to, in my mono white deck, get a, 1/1 deals 1 damage to any target sort of pinger or a Mire Triton sort of death touch card, I can do that, but I am giving up the fact that I'm otherwise, like, would be conjuring, this
Yeah.
card into my hand. It's like,
Yeah.
now I have a useless card in my hand. And so you want to have those extra things, and I just thought it would be interesting to look at. We've seen Merfolk be mostly mono blue, and then with the repeated, like,
Yeah.
Ixalan sort of sets, blue and green in this major
Hmm.
way. I'm like, "Well, what about Mardu Merfolk?"
Funny. Uncanny Delta. For two of the three, you've got some real simple cards in there, which I definitely value out of a spell book. And especially a spell book where the cards are not related to each other. Like sometimes we see spell books, these are all 1 mana blue cantrips, right? And there's
Mhm.
like 8 of them, and I don't know which ones I'm going to get, but I understand like I'm going to get one of these. I think spell books are harder when it's like 6 totally different cards that are unrelated to each other and are different rarities and whatever. And this
Right.
is a little closer to that first thing. The tap to deal a damage, the ETB mill death touch guy. Those are effects that are so common that I can read that in a split second. The Schoolmaster is a little trickier, like kind of on the line for me. Like, is that simple enough? Uh, I think it's a cool card. I'm not arguing against it, but I think this gets really close to like I can read the spell book in a split second. I can read the spell book at a glance, which would be a wonderful thing to have for a spell book.
There's another world where there's a black merfolk that does some thing with the number 1 in it.
Hmm.
And
Okay.
so then we'd have like, oh, the red one can deal 1 damage to any
Yeah.
target. The white one can make a 1/1, and the black one
Hmm.
does some other, sort of like one-ish thing. Maybe it does a probably not -1/-1 because why would you want that over the
Hmm.
deals 1, but maybe it'd be an ETB, so you'd get it sooner, or maybe it'd be death touch and a -1/-1, or
Yeah. Yeah. That definitely feels like a chaos drafty card flavor wise to me. Like I'm seeing stuff from all over the place.
and delta, of course, referring to both, like, a river delta, like, oh, this
Yeah.
uncanny delta where these different rivers coming together and opening into the sea, and so you have these different things, and
Yeah.
delta as in, like, the difference between things, and the
Hmm.
difference between how you cast this card can result in pretty wildly different cards. 2 Mire Tritons and 2 Stony Brook Schoolmasters, I think, are wildly different in terms of their effect in the battlefield and maybe even in your deck construction.
Yeah. Delta being like a triangle. You got 3 cards in here. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Great card. Next up from Kuyashi Plays, we've got Rochambeau Jonkin Fanatic. What are you doing to us?
Mhm,
Red, blue, green. So 3 mana, gold card for a 4/3. Legendary creature Goblin Gamer at rare. If Kuyashi just only submits gamer type creatures from now on, that's going to make sense to me somehow. I don't know why.
mhm,
It's a haste, so 3 mana, 3 color, 4/3 haste. When Rochambeau attacks on the turn it enters, oh my god. Each player conjures a card of their choice from the RPS spellbook onto the battlefield. All right, so each player is getting a card the turn that this enters. So each player is one time getting a card. It's not an ETB, it's an attack. I guess the it being attack trigger maybe lets me choose not to opt into this. But otherwise, this is kind of like an ETB. This is kind of like an enters ability. And I get one of the cards from the RPS spellbook, which were some cards from Unglued.
unglued, yeah. It's like the egg one.
Yeah. And then the 3 cards here are all 3 mana 4/3s, just like Rochambeau here. And they are all artifacts, and they're all vanilla, except for they all have an ability. And Rock Lobster is the first one. It says Scissors Lizard can't attack or block. Scissors Lizard says Paper Tigers can't attack or block. And Paper Tiger says Rock Lobsters can't attack or block.
Mhm,
The kind of idea here is that we're playing rock paper scissors. We're each going to pick a creature, and whoever picks correctly disables the other person's creature. So that person is going to get a free creature, and the other player isn't really going to get a free creature. They're going to get an inert creature that can't really do anything.
I think this is pretty fun. Tim, are you familiar with the idea of Rochambeau?
It was like a person or something. Yeah, I don't know the history of Rochambeau now.
It is functionally just another name for rock, paper,
Okay,
scissors, and the
all right.
name it's known by most places other than, like,
Hmm.
the US and the UK. And then Junkin is the Japanese,
Japanese one, yeah. John Kempon. Yeah.
and so it's a this is kind of fun. I like the haste, when it attacks on the turn it enters, like, sort of thing, and Rock, Lobster, Paper, Tiger, Scissors, Lizard, I think are not fun cards on their own or in, like, a limited format, like, but this card kind of makes them fun in the sense of there's,
Yeah.
like, "Hey, we get to do this game, and we don't have to otherwise think about the cards." Like, we don't have to draft thinking, "Oh, what
Yeah.
am I
You
gonna
don't have
get, and
to
what is my
draft
opponent
it.
gonna get,
Don't
and
have to put in a deck. Yeah.
are these gonna be nothing cards?" Instead, it's like, "Well, here's the upside."
This maybe feels it just directly in the lineage of a card Morrow would make for, some unset. Like it has that kind of like
Mhm,
this card is not very strong, and also like you might play it and immediately get blown up by your own card because if Rochambeau attacks and the owner of Rochambeau picks wrong, the opponent
mhm,
gets a creature that immediately kills Rochambeau.
and effectively nullifies your existing 4/3. Yeah,
Yeah.
that is fun. I think it is decidedly
Yeah.
I think we could probably get this at 2 mana without any question. This
Yeah.
is
Yeah. It's just a goofy card. I like it. I think it's a fun reference. There's enough, I don't know, design to this card that it functions. Like it's a cool card.
mhm.
And we get to think about old cards again, which is nice.
Okay. Tim, you wanna Rochambeau real quick?
Okay. So we go 3, 2, 1, and then say it on 0. Does that sound right?
Sure. Okay.
Okay. 3, 2, 1, scissors.
Scissors.
Oh.
Hey, we both got a 4/3.
Oh, okay.
And, like, you could block my 4/3, and then, like, I'm left with just a 4/3.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's part of the idea of this is that like when Rochambeau dies off, you still have a 4/3 who's the same size. So why did you
Mhm.
do all of this? Alrighty. Maybe the listeners played along with the yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Listeners, play along. You can see whether Tim and I both beat you or whether you beat both of us or if you all 3 of us tied, which seems somehow even less likely, but might also just be a coin flip.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
why would you do this? I think gets at a really interesting question of game design, which is for fun.
Yeah.
Not to win, but for fun.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Love the card. Thanks for submitting it.
Our next submission is from Dragon of the West. Of the West, which is Aquatic Archaeologists. It's Bant mana, so green, white, blue, for a 3/3 creature merfolk artificer at rare. Whenever you attack
Mm.
one or more players, choose that many card names from among Elven Lyre, Balm of Restoration, and Conch Horn. For each name chosen this way, create a token that's a copy of the card with that name. Whenever you sacrifice an artifact, you may tap target creature. And
Mm.
so these are each 2 mana artifacts from
Fallen Empires.
I was gonna say Antiquities, Fallen Empires, great. And I believe they each have 1 tap, sacrifice this. Elven Liar's effect when you do that is give a creature +2/+2 until end of turn. Balm of
Mm.
Restoration is gain 2 life or prevent up to 2 damage. And Conchhorn is draw 2 cards, then put a card from your hand on top of your library.
All right. Yeah. So 3 mana, 3/3, 3 colors. But when I attack one or more players, choose that many card names. So one on one, I'm choosing one. But a multiplayer, I'm spreading it around. Maybe I get to pick all three.
Mhm.
And then I get 1 to 3. What level are these things? These are maybe a little better than a food. These are better than a food token. Maybe in the zone of a clue because they all cost 1 mana to activate. So where would you put these power wise, just as a comparison?
If I'm only ever picking 1 or 2, I'm never picking Palm of Restoration probably unless I have other life gain synergies, but
Yeah.
given that Aquatic Archaeologist also has whenever you sacrifice an artifact, you may tap target creature, the idea of then you summon these artifacts in, and then you can tap down blockers
Yeah. Yeah.
by cashing in these things. I think these are kind of perfect finds where, like,
Oh.
yeah, I am paying the extra mana for this, and it could be if I have just a bunch of Elven Lyres on the battlefield, I've got these on the battlefield sort of tricks with these +2/+2s and everything,
Hmm.
but this seems kind of a fun, fair thing that really does incentivize doing the is it melee that says, like,
Yeah.
"Hey, attack a bunch of
Yep.
different
Mhm.
different players?" I think this is a really fun little way to incentivize doing that, because especially the second player you attack is, like, drawing an extra card each turn, effectively.
Yeah. 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 Because the first token that I create might have to be the green one, the pump effect, just
Mhm.
to make sure I keep the train rolling, and I get to keep making these tokens. But if I attack 2 players, then I also am getting this card drawing, like baby brainstorm thing. And now I think I'm really getting ahead. I'm keeping my creatures alive, and also I'm drawing some extra cards. And Bant loves drawing cards, so um,
And if I'm attacking 3 players, I'm definitely not turning my nose up at an extra artifact on the battlefield that I can
yep,
sacrifice at any time to tap a creature and prevent
yeah,
2 damage or gain 2 life. Like,
yeah,
that's not nothing, even if it is weaker than draw a
yeah,
card or give a creature +2/+2.
yeah. It is kind of a shame because like gaining 2 life is, we understand that pretty well, but preventing 2 damage to a player or creature, preventing damage to creatures is like a potent mid combat effect, but it's like basically not as good as +2/+2. you know,
Mhm.
+2/+2 just barely supersedes it, I guess. It would be nice if these were a little more different, but they're old cards. You can't really change the old cards. So,
I
um,
kind of like, in some ways, that one of them is more clearly worse, in that you can be making short-term versus medium or long-term choices when it comes
hmm,
to what artifacts you're picking up. Do you want to be drawing cards with Contorn or, focusing on the extra power toughness sort of things?
yeah,
And it's only when you're getting all 3 that you start to think about the Balm of Restoration, and most of the time, it'll be obvious what your first pick should be. And I kind of like that for a card with this much potential complexity,
Mm,
that the actual gameplay of it, I think, would be appealing and fun for a like newer player. I would
mm.
happily put this in like a, you know, I don't know, like a precon sort of thing.
Yeah, this feels like a precon card for sure. Yeah. This gets to go in the deck that like, oh, the commander of the precon cares about clues or whatever. Um, cares about lander tokens or something. And instead like this works with existing token artifact tokens, but then also has its own little spin on things.
And maybe there's a like the alternate commander maybe does two things and one of them is cares about life gain. And then suddenly you've got
Yeah,
a
yeah.
different way you could be playing the card.
Or that alternative card cares about attacking multiple opponents or something. Like
Mhm.
this is like kind of a classic commander precon card to me in that way.
Yeah.
All right, next up from James Dalton Bell, we've got Fire Novice. This is 1 and a red for 2/1, 2 mana 2/1. Creature, human, wizard at uncommon. It has two different tap abilities. It has tap, conjure a card from Fire Novice spellbook into exile and remove it from the spellbook. Until your next turn, you may cast the conjured card. We'll get to the spellbook in a second, like usual. Its other tap ability is this creature deals 3 damage to any target. Activate this ability only if its spellbook is empty.
Mm.
This is kind of a leveler or some other kind of like time delay card where I have to cast some like okay things, or at least tap this creature and do some okay things for a while, and then after 4 taps, the fourth tap and beyond, fourth, fifth, sixth taps are lightning bolts, which are awesome.
I want to shout out its flavor text practice makes perfect, which especially comes into play here with its spellbook, which is collateral damage, shard volley, and sonic seizure, each of which are a single red mana for an instant that deals 3 damage to any target, but with like a different like conditional writer.
Oh, I didn't know that yet. Yeah.
Collateral damage is as an additional cost to cast this spell, sacrifice a creature.
Mm,
Sonic Seizure is as an additional cost to cast this, discard a card at random from your hand. And
mm,
Shard Volley is as an additional cost to cast this, sacrifice a land. So you'll have dealt 9 damage by the time you're done emptying the spellbook, but you will have also discarded a card at random, sacrificed a land, and sacrificed a creature.
mm.
And if you want to keep Fire Novice around to be able to use the tap ability, you need to be sacrificing a different creature.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. This fire novice can get their degree just by skipping class because you can just tap it, not cast a spell, tap it, not cast a spell, tap it, not cast a spell, and then start tapping for lightning bolts
That's a good point.
because you just have to have emptied the the end of the term you graduate, whether or not you actually did any of the homework. Um, this is a cool effect. I think I think the choice to have it be like basically 3 bad lightning bolts that you get to cast until you start casting lightning bolts is cool and is a fun effect. And you know, I think it would be fun to play with. Like you have to kind of go gamer mode because these drawbacks on these cards are kind of high. Like lightning bolt, but you have to sack a creature. Lightning bolt, but you have to sack a land. Lightning bolt, but you have to discard a card at random. Those are all pretty big costs. But those are costs that like spiky players are ready to pay, that are ready to figure out, okay, this turn I can afford to do this. This turn, oh, it's turn 6. I can afford to sack a land now in order to, zap a creature or something.
From a flavor perspective, I think this card like is a absolute home run with you can imagine someone who is just learning fire magic and they keep accidentally like burning things or like, oh, I have to
Yeah.
it turns out I needed to use a much more powerful catalyst than I expected, and I
Hmm.
accidentally burned this whole like farm in channeling this
Yeah. Yeah.
this
Yeah.
lightning bolt or various things until eventually that mastery is I no longer need to sacrifice things. I can just fashu.
Yeah. Yeah. It's part of the challenge that you had to use cannon cards, but these cannon cards aren't all fiery, which was a little
Mhm,
funny thing. Like Sonic Seizure,
mhm.
Shard Volley's a bunch of like daggers or something.
Yeah, it's like an earth attack more than a fire blast.
Yeah. I guess it gave me like the sort of brainstorm idea of like, what if it was like 3 bad versions of lightning bolt, but that were bad in different ways, and now I'm honing my craft. But all three like kind of feel flavorful, fiery. That uh, I guess that's a place to go if you want to go over the top in flavor and want to design three more cards.
Mhm. Maybe like a collateral damage and then one of the 2 mana deal 3 damages, and then one of
Yeah,
the, like,
yeah.
3 mana deal 3 damages that, like, downside, neutral, like, 3 mana with a downside, 3 mana neutral, 3 mana with an upside, and then
Mm,
you're
yeah,
would be
yeah,
another way of maybe getting the, if you wanted to lean just in the fire space.
yeah. I mean, in terms of working on the challenge, though, this hits it really well. Are all those spellbook cards commons? Probably. Yeah, they are.
Yeah, yeah, I
So
think
we hit
so.
that part of the challenge. And unless the merfolk is a target, I don't think this includes merfolk. But yeah, love this card. Another super solid James card.
Really great to see also, this is an example of getting the spell book where the cards are so similar
Mm,
that it's easy to remember, "Oh, yeah, it's gonna be one of those 3 mana red instants." It's fairly
yeah,
easy to keep all in your mind at once.
yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna take a big drink of water before reading this next one.
Yeah. Next up, I guess you're going to read it, but I maybe accidentally challenged Xena to submit weirder cards. And so
Mhm.
you and I and all the listeners get to benefit from that folly on my part.
This next submission is from Xena Distraction Incarnate. It's Innsmouth's Spread, 2
Mm,
white and a blue, or 2 and a white-blue hybrid, so 3 mana for a common enchantment aura with enchant permanent. When this enchantment enters, draft 1 from the Generation spellbook. That card gains exile this as it resolves.
okay.
If this entered from exile, create a token copy of it instead. If Innsmouth's Spread entered from exile, create a token copy of the card that was drafted instead of exiling it.
Oh, okay.
I
Hmm.
I'm pretty sure that's what the this and the that refer to.
That sounds right. Yeah.
Then enchanted permanent, because don't forget this is an enchantment
Yeah.
that is enchanting a permanent. Enchanted permanent gets the merfolk mutant creature types. It is kindred if needed. Wherever enchanted permanent references itself, replace that text with each merfolk mutant.
Hmm. Okay. So uh, when this enters, draw a card. Whether you get to keep that or not is based on whether Innsmouth Spread is cast from exile or not. But so I'm when it enters, draw a card, but weirdly. And then the main effect of this is that it makes all things that single target this creature instead target all merfolk mutants.
Mm.
I have no clue what the spellbook is going to be.
So, the spell book is surprisingly simple.
Okay.
The spell book is Flicker, which is 1 and a white for sorcery, exile target non-token permanent, then return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. Flicker of Fate, 1 and a white for an instant, exile target creature or enchantment, then return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. And Scroll Shift, 2 and a white for an instant, exile up to 1 target artifact creature or enchantment you control, then return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. Draw a card.
Hmm. I get actual flicker, which just flickers a non-land permanent. Flicker of Fate, which flickers a creature or enchantment, which is kind of funny given the context of the card. And then Scroll Shift, which flickers is a little more expensive. Flickers artifact, creature, enchantment, but you also get to draw a card. I guess when is there a time where Flicker of Fate does something that Flicker of Fate is an instant, whereas Flicker is a sorcery.
Yes. And okay, this is reinterpreting then the first paragraph of Innsmouth's Spread. When this enters, draft 1 from this spellbook of Flicker effects.
Yeah.
That card gains exile this as it resolves, which I assume means after you've done all of the text, you're exiling it like like various time walk cards have. And then
Hmm.
if this entered from exile, so this in turn doesn't mean the card from the spellbook, it means this aura.
Hmm.
So you cast this, you are drafting one of the flicker effects. So you've got that card in your hand.
Hmm.
Then you cast the flicker effect targeting this aura. and the aura
Hmm.
leaves the battlefield, and then when it enters the battlefield, you don't draft another flicker effect. Instead,
Yeah.
you create a copy of Innsmouth's Spread.
Then sort of the idea there is that I get to redraft from the original cardboard card that I am flickering, but then
Mhm,
I'm making copies of it to maybe spread this enchantment token copy roll style, like little enchantment tokens that I'm putting on all my other creatures. So I have one Innsmouth's cardboard card that I'm flickering over and over, and then a bunch of other copies of it that I can add to everybody else. And then that
mhm.
gets back to the original text of the card, like what this does as an aura, which is that it turns the thing into a merfolk mutant, and then it makes it so that when you target one of these merfolk mutants, you instead target all of your merfolk mutants, kind of Zada style, maybe.
Mhm. Or you could target and you could make all of your opponent's stuff into merfolk mutants and then
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
destroy one creature, and you also destroy 3 lands if you've
All
been
right.
going long enough.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe that's, yeah, maybe that's like a, oh, it's enchant permanent. Okay. Yeah. So maybe, yeah, that is the insane way to do this is I put it on anything. It doesn't matter. Flicker it, bring it back, put it on a land, my opponent's land, another land, or whatever. And then I do that a couple more times, and then I play like one Stone Rain and blow up all their lands.
Except it's wherever enchanted permanent references itself, replace that text with each merfolk mutant.
Oh, where?
So it doesn't copy
Oh,
effects. So instead,
it's not
you just
Zada.
need to make your opponents, like, fetch land that somehow they have not cracked and all of their other permanents, so that then when
Hmm.
they try to sacrifice, instead of, like, sacrifice wooded tap sacrifice wooded
Oh, okay.
foothills, search your
Yeah.
library for a mountain or forest, it instead says, "Sacrifice each merfolk mutant you control."
Yeah. Okay. So yeah. We hit the
Mhm,
Xena twist that we read a piece of text twice and didn't get it until the third time. This isn't like a Zada spread the same effect. To make targeting effects target a bunch of things. This is make my ability that I give to myself affect other things and
mhm,
then kind of multiply. So if I have like this creature gets +1/+1 if you control a cat.
mhm,
Now it says each merfolk mutant gets +1/+1 if you control a cat. And presumably you have multiple merfolk mutants that might have this copies of this aura on it, so all of them are saying to each other, all of us get +1/+1 if we control a cat to each other, and we might get like 3 or 4 or 5 of that effect. So you want effects that the creature has on itself or the permanent has on itself that benefit itself so that it can instead benefit a variety of merfolk mutants.
So you need a copy of Darksteel Relic, but from before Indestructible got changed from being a text ability to a keyword ability.
Mm. So that everything becomes indestructible.
Yeah, I think
Mm.
a shade effect would, or like a fire breathing thing, would be things that I would frequently be thinking about, but any static effects that do refer to the creature, you could spread around. It is interesting that so you I cast this for 3 mana, I draft a flicker effect. Then once I cast the flicker effect, if I target this aura, it blinks, comes back in, and I don't draft a card. I just create a token copy. But that token copy does have me draft a card. So I'm again drafting another flicker effect. So as long as
Mm.
I have the like 1 and a white-ish mana, or 2 and a white if I want to be drawing cards in the process, I can just keep doing this and keep spreading Innsmouth's Spread, because
Mm.
each of the cardboards, when they re-enter, don't flicker, but, I can be flickering the original each time because the tokens will still give me a drafted card. Whew.
Mhm. So I guess I'm trying to look for some example cards that this would be good with once you get it rolling, because obviously getting it rolling probably takes 6 real life minutes as your and your opponent discuss the mechanics of this card.
Mhm.
Well, if we take that as a given, we want effects where creatures pump themselves. So like I'm looking Knight of the Reliquary gets +1/+1 for each land card in your graveyard. Instead,
Sure.
each of them give each other +1/+1 for each card in your graveyard.
Mhm.
Or I guess, yeah, maybe a simpler version of that. I'm looking at Squirrel Mob. Squirrel Mob gets +1/+1 for each other squirrel on the battlefield. So instead, it's each Merfolk mutant gets +1/+1 for each for each other squirrel. Oh, they all need to be squirrels. That is complicated. I'm not sure what the good cards are with this card.
Okay, impact tremors? I'd love to find,
Hmm.
like, a blue or white card, but, like, okay,
Yeah.
whenever a creature you control enters, this enchantment deals 1 damage to each opponent. So
Each
you could
Merfolk
say,
mutant you control.
yeah, whenever a
Yeah.
creature you control enters, each merfolk mutant deals 1 damage
Hmm.
to each opponent.
Are there any Merfolk mutants already? Maybe that's what we need.
Je ne sais pas.
It would be probably Simic. They're two Simic creatures that are Merfolk mutants. Are they good with this ability? Benthic Biomancer. Whenever one or more +1/+1 counters are put on Benthic Biomancer, draw a card, then discard a card. So that would say whenever one or more +1/+1 counters are put on a Merfolk mutant you control. Yeah, it doesn't really work. That's not very good. Yeah, and the other one's the ETB. So the existing Merfolk mutants are not sufficient. I guess we got to go. Are there changelings that that benefit from this? I don't know.
Hard to say.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
I'm looking up things that have, like, this enchantment in them, and almost all of them are, like, "Sacrifice this enchantment,
Hmm.
do something." So
Torian Mauler, EDH, budget EDH classic. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, you may put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. If you just have your Changeling deck, for each spell your opponents cast, all of your creatures get
Mm,
plus
yeah.
one plus. That's still even kind of silly. Yeah.
Tim, you can do a really great combo where you cast your Torian Mauler for 3 mana, and then you spend another 3 mana to enchant it with Innsmouth's Spread in
Yeah.
order to suddenly and finally make your Torian Mauler a merfolk mutant in addition to its other creature types.
Well, I flicker it and put it on two of my other permanents, so the Torian Mauler no longer is enchanted. I don't know.
But
Oh, but I need one to be on there in order for it to spread. Yeah, yeah, funny.
Torian Mauler itself, since it
It is
already
all
is a
creature
merfolk
types.
mutant,
Yeah,
it's very silly to spend 3 mana to also make it a
yeah,
merfolk mutant.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
All right. Well, this is a crazy card. Spellbook. The spellbookiness is somewhat low here because there's three cards that are almost the same. Uh,
Xena mentions, "You think Flicker isn't common, but you're simply misremembering, because of course Flicker, the one and a white sorcery,
yeah.
is a rare from Ursa's Destiny,
Mm.
and
Mhm.
that's fine. It counts as common for this, Xena. You did get both bonus points."
Okay. Could because our collective memory is that it's a common. Oh no, the because this aura is somehow uncommon. All right, all right. Love it. Thank you,
Our
Zena.
next s No, wait, you've got the next one. Okay, I'll take a break.
Our next card is from Cord. It's called Caliphy's Cry. It's blue blue for an enchantment aura. It has an ability Mythos for 2 blue blue, so like an alternate cost. You may cast this aura for its Mythos cost. If you do, it enters attached to a randomly conjured card from its spellbook. Oh. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and has ward 2. Baseline, this is a aura. It's like a so-so aura where I can spend 2 mana to give something +1/+1 and ward 2. But if I instead want to pay a little bit more mana, I can also get a creature along with it. So I can spend 4 mana to get a creature that's going to be pumped by this aura. And then the spellbook all three are Tritons, which are merfolk. We've got Triton Shorestalker, which is a 1/1 that can't be blocked. So I can get a 2/2 that can't be blocked and has ward 2. Seems okay. A Wave Crash Triton, which is a 1/4 with heroic. Whenever you cast a spell that targets Wave Crash Triton, tap something, does an untap next untap step. And then Crackling Triton, which is a 2/3 that also has 2 in a red, sack it to shock something, to deal 2 damage to any target. So I can either get a 2/2 unblockable with Ward 2, I can get a 2/5 Ward 2 with this heroic ability, or I can get a 3/4 with this self sack ability.
How much red mana do you think you would run if you had this card in your deck?
Hmm. At least at first glance, the prospect of sacrificing my crackling Triton seems kind of tough. I don't know.
Yeah. How often do you wanna spend 2 in a
Yeah.
red to sacrifice your 3/4 ward 2 creature in order to just shock?
Yeah. I guess like if I have one filter land in my deck, that's the amount of red I want to dedicate.
Sure. Yeah,
Like
that makes
maybe at
sense.
the very end of the game I can deal 2 to my opponent.
Mhm. Even just like a Shimmering Grotto or something for
Yeah.
that specific purpose. Yeah. I
It's
Mythos
good.
is interesting, like,
Yeah.
as an alternative to Bestow in the kind of Kikori sort of thing, or
Mhm.
kind of as an alternative to I feel like Reconfigure in a
Hmm.
way, like,
Okay.
obviously, we're working in different spaces here, but, like, this can be an aura, or this can be a creature enchanted by the aura, but
Hmm.
we're, like, limiting the pool and just replacing a token with this conjured creature, and so you have this variance each time you play it.
Hmm.
The narrowness of the variance, like, it is like a 1/1 that can't be blocked versus a 1/4 as the base creature before you apply the +1/+1 ward to.
Hmm.
There's a pretty big difference to how that ends up on the board, but
Yeah.
it's still gonna be like a 2 blue and a blue for a ward 2 creature that is a narrow bracket of power
Yeah.
and toughness. Like 1/1 and 1/4 are different, 2/2 and 2/5 are different, but they
Mhm.
aren't 6/6 versus 3/2 versus 0/4 sort of different.
Yeah. When I read the first one, Triton Shore Stalker, that made me really optimistic because it's like, okay, I'm gonna get a variety of creatures, all of which are like pretty useful.
Mhm,
And so I really wanted Mythos. But looking at the other two, I wouldn't really characterize those as pretty useful, I guess. Like the Wave Crash Triton, I guess maybe heroic is okay because if I'm playing auras, I'm gonna heroic it a little bit, but I don't think you get the heroic trigger on the initial
right.
summoning of this thing.
Mhm,
And so it's a 2/5 that's a little complicated. I mean, maybe that's still strong enough. 4 mana 2/5 is like borderline limited card. And then 4 mana 3/4, yeah, I guess that's borderline as well, but with an ability that feels like a distraction. I don't know.
mhm. Maybe it was just another common Triton that
Yeah. Yeah.
worked
Maybe
and
that's what it
wasn't
was. Yeah.
dealing with too many other things going on.
Yeah. There are only like two or three other
You wouldn't necessarily
choices.
want Triton Shore
Yeah.
Thief, the single blue mana
Yeah.
1/2. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, I would rather have can't be blocked over 1 extra point of toughness.
Yeah. There were maybe like five choices, and these were the three best of the five choices for the brief.
Mhm,
I try to make sure to like not penalize a card that is a fair price. You know what I mean? Like
mhm,
you're not paying that much. You're not paying that much mana. It's not that rare a card, so you get like an okay thing, and you get some variety. You get a choice of what card you want. Like that. That should be good enough. That should be a good enough card that we should be happy with. I guess I just wasn't quite as enticed by my choices as I hoped to be.
yeah.
Yeah.
And if you have a bunch of these, let's say you have 3 of these in your deck or anything, you cast the first one, you're either getting this little evasive beater, in which case adding a blocker that can kind of stuff up the board would be good, or getting another evasive beater would be good. If you are instead getting Wave Crash Titan on the first one, your second Calliope's Cry could be triggering the heroic. That's pretty narrow because it's not like this heroic is like a long-term permanent effect. It's just a tap down sort of little stun, but it's not nothing. Like there's some kind of combination there. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this all 3 of the conjured cards are common, and this certainly cares about Merfolk in its specificity that
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. And it like picks a niche that no one saw coming. So this is like really creative and different. And pulling a character that is a little obscure is definitely a cool aspect to this card as well.
Yeah. Our next submission here is from Grand Nagus. It's Hera and Selena of the Halimar.
Oh.
1 green, white, blue, so that's 4 mana, sort of Bant, for a 3/5 legendary creature Merfolk Cleric at Mythic. When Hera and Selena of the Halimar enters, choose a card name that hasn't been chosen from among Cultivate, Farseek, and Dawn Treader Elk. Create a copy of the card with the chosen name. You may cast the copy. You still pay its costs. When another merfolk you control enters, you may return an instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. So we've got kind of
Hmm.
a Garth One Eye sort of thing that, like, yeah, this can work, I believe, in paper.
Yeah, yeah. Not totally sure I know how this is supposed to work. So when it enters, choose a card name that hasn't been chosen. Is that hasn't been chosen across the whole game? Because this ability only happens once, I think.
Yeah, that
Hmm.
is peculiar. I wonder if that is a carryover from Garth One Eye. It is Garth One Eye,
Hmm.
right? Yeah, which is tap, choose a card name that hasn't been
Right.
chosen from
Yeah.
among Disenchant, Brain Geyser, etc., etc.
Yeah. Because, I mean, otherwise, this is cool. When this enters, you either get Cultivate, which is like get a land into play and a land into your hand. You get Farseek, which is get a land into play, or Dawn Treader Elk, which is a 2/2 that you can sack to go get a land. So it's like a
Mhm.
bunch of different little ways to get lands. You create a copy of the card with the chosen name, you may cast the copy. You still have to pay for it. So if I can cast that card indefinitely, that's pretty good. Otherwise, I have to wait until I have like 6 or 7 mana to have this enter and then pay for my card.
I believe it to be the case that you can cast it later.
Okay. Well, either way.
Or
Yeah.
okay, like, I'm looking at the specific rulings for Garth One Eye here. As Garth
Okay.
One Eye's ability resolves, you must choose one of the listed card names. You may choose not to cast the copy created, but you won't be able to choose that card name again later. This is such
Hmm.
a funny, kind of weird narrow space given that there's, like, one pre-existing card that I can see a world where it goes either way, that, like, one reason you wouldn't want Cultivate, Farseek can technically get you, like, a Blood Crypt or I don't know why I chose Blood Crypt, but, like, a non-basic with those types, but hypothetically, if you did need to cast it at this time, then 6 mana getting a, 3/5 and the Farseek, or the 3/5 plus the 2/2 that can later be a land versus 7 mana to get the Cultivate. I think, then you start really looking at the 6 mana version.
And then when I play more merfolks, I can return an instant or sorcery card from my graveyard to my hand. But that's not going to be the Cultivate Farseeker Dawn Treader because I'm not actually dealing with cardboard there. I'm dealing with copies of spells like Garth.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Huh.
And so maybe this is just, a commander-focused card where, yeah,
Hmm.
it's a merfolk instant or sorcery deck, and if you have prowess stuff, this can effectively conjure you a thing that can activate your prowess and be ramping you towards casting Merfolk and instants and sorceries in the same turns.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. There are
Mhm.
a lot of cool things about it. It doesn't totally gel for me, maybe because I just don't totally understand how it's supposed to work. Because if this were like fully arena mode and it was like when it enters, pick one of these three cards and conjure it into your hand. Oh, now I have a conjured thing. Now when I cast it, I can get it back with future merfolk. So I'm like far seeking every turn, and like it's a 4 mana card that ramps, which is a little weird. But then if I get to just like ramp a lot for the rest of the game, like now I'm in the like 10, 15, 20 land zone doing crazy merfolk things and having a great time. As like a one time, I get to cast one ramp spell after I'm already at kind of a lot of mana. It's like a little harder for me to see the through line, harder for me to see the plan. But with a little bit of tweaking, a little bit of clarity, I think this could get to be a really cool spot. And it's like fun to have like the double legend that's like two characters in one. They're buddies. There's two abilities.
Yeah.
I like all that stuff too.
I do think it is interesting. I wanna say it's Tuvasa the Sunlit
Hmm.
is the Bant Merfolk legend that cares about enchantments, and so having a Bant Merfolk legend that cares about instants and sorceries and lands in a real sense, but, especially being Halimar, being a Zendikar sort of themed thing. That's like, yeah, give us more merfolk commanders that care about a specific subset of types or whatever, because, like, people are gonna wanna build those decks.
Yeah, the people want to do this. Yeah. So You're at the right crossroads. We just gotta, yeah, clarify the card a little bit. But yeah, love the
Mhm.
card. Thanks for sending it in. And then we got one more card here from Ash. We've got Crossplanar Infection. It's an enchantment. When this enchantment enters, draft a card from this enchantment spellbook. We'll get to that in a sec. At the beginning of your end step, if there are 3 or more infection counters on permanents, draft a card from this card's spellbook, then proliferate. So, infection counters, what cards have infection counters? Seemingly exactly 3 of them, which I'm gonna we kind of have to read them because they are all kind of weird and different, and how they work matters. So our first one here is called Gene Stealer Patriarch. This is a 40k card, Warhammer card. 5 mana 4/4. When it attacks, put an infection counter on target creature defending player controls. And then whenever a creature with an infection counter on it dies, you create a token copy of that, except it's a Tyranid. So you're going to be marking things as infected, and then when they die, you get them. We've got Diseased Vermin. It's a 1/1. Whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, put an infection counter on it. Infection counter on the vermin. At the beginning of your upkeep, this creature deals X damage to target opponent previously dealt damage by it, where X is the number of infection counters on it. So this one actually like really rewards proliferating. And then Festering Wound is the last card. This is a enchant creature. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may put an infection counter on this aura. At the beginning of the upkeep of enchanted creature's controller, this aura deals X damage to that player, where X is the number of infection counters on this aura.
Wow.
The middle one, the rats, feels like I'm really benefiting from the proliferation. The first one, the Tyranid, having 2 infection counters doesn't do anything except that it helps trigger the clause of this infection card.
Reminiscent of Stab Wound in a sense, where it's this aura that you kinda don't mind sitting on your opponent's creature because it's just gonna keep adding more damage to
Yeah.
your opponent.
Yeah, it's saying like, hey, I've your creature isn't dead, however, it is a liability to you.
So, getting back to cross-planar infection,
Yeah.
single black mana enters, you draft one of these cards, and then you do still need to cast them, so 1 in
That's
a
true.
black for the aura, 2 in a black for the rats,
Hmm.
4 in a blue for the 4/4 Tyranid
Mm-hmm.
that copies things, and then whichever one of these you've got the mana to cast right now, you probably wanna get onto the battlefield because then you can start proliferating. If you have 3 or more infection counters, okay, you also can draft again. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that initial threshold of 3 really starts counting, 'cause then you can
Mm-hmm.
kinda go wild.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the base plan that I have for this is that I somehow want to get this rat down, and then the rat
Mhm.
to like hit a couple times. I guess in terms of getting infection counters, the most reliable question mark is the aura, because that just gives you a counter every turn. So in 3 turns, you're definitely going to have infection counters. I guess unless the host dies, unless the enchanted creature dies.
I mean, but is your opponent more likely to spend a removal spell to remove one of your creatures or to remove one of their own creatures that you've
Hmm.
enchanted?
Hmm.
And the answer might be if they have a removal spell, they can remove the infection source either way.
Yeah, yeah, kind of a
But yeah.
punishery effect at that point. Like,
Mhm,
sure, I like my 5/1 better than my opponent's 2/1, but my 5/1 has this festering wound on it. All right, I'll trade in combat. I'll get rid of this wound.
mhm.
Yeah, if the festering wound was somehow like an enchant player or something, I think this would all really line up and make a ton of sense. Because I guess what I want to do is like get some infection going, then draft a gene stealer every turn, and really start going nuts.
Yeah, yeah.
Another kind of like crazy cosmic alignment of a bunch of otherwise unrelated cards. We got a couple of those this challenge, and I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and the name of the card, cross-planar
Yeah,
infection, kind of tying in together
yeah,
these very disparate different pieces.
yeah. Cool card.
So, quite a doozy in terms of
Oh
number
yeah,
of cards discussed across all of these submissions. Any favorites stand out to you, Tim?
yeah, yeah. I guess probably near the top. I guess the most gamery card that I feel like I have to try hard to play, but I'll be rewarded is Fire Novice. This is the
Sure.
one where I gotta like tap and cast bad lightning bolts and somehow survive. And then if I do that, then I win the game basically. I think, but also in the mix there, I think maybe the thing that is not my type of card, but feels like hits the challenge just super squarely is that Forgetful Fish, that Dan card.
Mhm, with the predictions and the
Yeah.
time relapses.
I,
Yeah.
I'm not sure why I'm picking a card that I'm not interested in playing, but like somehow the mixture all of it is all super cohesive. Like I think with spellbooks, you want the different choices in the spellbook to really matter. This like whether I want Dan or Memory Lapse or Mystic Sanctuary, those are three very different cards, but are all part of the same cohesive plan. That everybody is getting these predicts that they get to use. Like also fits a lot into what this card is trying to do. So I think maybe that's my other choice for this challenge.
Yeah. I think as far as design space, I would pick Azcanta Scout as something that
Mm.
I
Okay,
would be
yeah.
interested in, like, workshopping or working with and
Yeah.
then, like,
Yeah.
finding a specific mechanic for. But for, like, all of the pieces of the card working together, Aquatic Archaeologists takes the cake
Oh,
for
okay.
me.
All right.
The Bant 3/3 merfolk that gets these old-fashioned artifacts that each are 1 and a tap sacrifice to get these effects.
Yeah.
I think the card is such a hit and,
Okay.
like, would be fun to play with multiple times and
Yeah.
even to,
Mhm.
like, play alongside or play against, and happily fits into a lot of different things that I would hand to new players, and they'd be like, "This is fun."
All righty. Yeah.
S
Great cards.
Speaking of "this is fun,"
Okay.
the end of one design challenge means the beginning of another.
Yeah. So we've got
Yeah.
Rockstober. We've also got Moxtober, which we'll talk about in this, or you may have already heard about. But
Yeah.
in addition to Moxtober, we've got Rockstober. Design a rhino that would fit in a graveyard set. So we've got rocks are like the Alara, rhino people, and then spooky season. So we got a little graveyard set here.
Mhm. We got some bonus points alongside this Rockstober, which are Roxanne.
Yeah,
The card can mention red as a color, but not red mana in its cost.
yeah.
And Roxas.
Hmm.
The card name should be an anagram put in
Mm.
spoiler text, so between, double bar lines, what the anagram of the card name is.
Yeah, I think that the secret bonus point is that it's an anagram but with an X added. So Roxas is Sora, but with an extra X in there and
Exactly.
edgier.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we actually got a third bonus point that we're adding in. Alexis was on the last episode talking about Once Upon a Galaxy and shared with us this Netherbinder card, which is a dragon that cares about treasure and stuff. So we got a bonus point. Rock Candy interacts in some way with treasure or food. Netherbinder is this card that cares about getting more and more and more treasure and makes you get more treasure and make your treasure better. Give us some hint of that on your rocks, on your rhino.
And naturally, that Once Upon
Mm.
a Galaxy set being Candylar could also be candy instead.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Take a shot
Mhm.
at candy instead of food. Yeah, that'd be cool too. And that'll be due October 31st. You got the whole of October to get that card to us.
Yeah. And if you wanna hear about Moxtober, check out the episode right before this in the feed, because this one's a long one already.
Yeah, fair enough. All right. And that'll be it for the podcast for the week. Hop on the Discord, all the actions there, all the submissions for I think you make the pack's about to finish. Moxtober is just kicking off, and then
Mhm.
everything else that normally happens. You want have anything you want to tell people about? Any
Congratulations to Red Bay
Oh
on
yeah.
winning Card Coliseum.
Ba-ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. But yeah, you can find us both on the Discord. And most of all, thanks for listening.